You're on a mute, Repco. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you might be calling in from. Super excited. It's been a couple of weeks since I have been doing this Fireside Chat. I've had Bill Ball fill in for me and Siv filled in for me as I have been traveling. I'm in my lake home right now in Minnesota. So you've got a little different background that you're seeing. I've got a real fire. It's about 50 degrees here in Minnesota. So we've got a little bit of a cold snap. I've been doing a little bit of fishing with my brother was here this week. So doing a little bit of fishing here in the lakes of Minnesota, which that includes fish fries. So that's exciting as well. But anyway, back to work today. So excited to be with everyone. Thinking a little bit about what the topic might be for today. I picked identifying your why, understanding your why. And so I want to have a nice open discussion about this and really dig down deep. And there's a book, I think it's Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. And I'm going to play a little portion of that book and think hopefully you guys can hear it, because he talks about something that I believe is incredibly powerful as it relates to your why. And most people, as you think about the why, because we hear about this why all the time. Everybody talks about your why should make you cry and you should know your why. And I would bet if I asked any one of you what your why was, some of you would, give me a good answer. That sounds really good. That's a really great answer. And some others would really struggle with it. I'm not actually sure what my why is. And I think there's a lot of people that fall into that category. I actually think even I fall into that category. I'm not sure if I've ever really completely and totally articulated, my why, what I really want. And anyway, so, what is your why? And, getting really deep into the understanding, and that's where the why really, you internalize it, you pull it from your heart rather than your head. Because when you're asked, what your why is, many times what we're giving a head answer. Right? We're giving a logical answer. We're giving a kind of an obvious answer, an answer that somebody would say, yeah, that sounds really good. That's a really noble why. That's really, I want to help people, or I want to feel better, or I want more money, and I want more freedom. I want more excitement. I want more passion in my life. I want a better relationship, whatever it is, whatever your why is. I want to, have my spouse be able to come home. That's why I'm working so hard. But what Dean talks about in his book is that very few people really dig down, and this hit him by complete surprise. And what I want to do to really kind of set the pace, set the stage here, because I just listened to this. I listened to it, back in December. I've been distracted. I've been busy. I've been doing things, and I kind of put it aside. When this, topic today came up about, really understanding, establishing, really digging down to see what your why is, I went back this morning. I found it in the book. I listened to it again. It's a short segment, and he talks about 7 degrees of 7 questions, digging down 7 levels. I think that's the word he used, 7 levels of identifying your why. And so I don't know how this is going to come over. If it's going to broadcast, great. I felt it. I felt it today when I listened to it. I felt the emotion that Dean was sharing and the impact that the 7 levels of really digging down deep to really establish what you really want and why you really want it. What is the underlying, that deep underlying motivation that's going to push through the hard times, going to push through the difficult times, push through the challenging times. He talks about, you might want to be in great shape, or you want better abs, but is that enough, to, when you have a hard day at work, to get to the gym, to still get to the gym? Digging down, I want more money and because it's going to give me a better life, and it's going to create, eliminate stress. And, but is that enough? Is that enough? But to really dig down and understand what your why really is. And so that's what I want to do, is I want to take and If somebody can give me an indication if you're able to hear this, and I'm really hoping you are, because I took notes on it. I thought I could try to, relay it to you in my own words, but he does such an incredible job of describing that. I'm just going to play this. So I'm going to start it right now. We're going to listen to this. It's probably about 5 minutes long or so. Okay. And then we're going to discuss this. So hold on. And this is Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. Okay. So tell me if you guys can hear this.
About 8 years ago, I hired a consultant named Joe Stump to help me get my
Can you hear it?
students and my readers more engaged in what I do and what I teach. Joe is incredible at what he does, and it wasn't cheap to hire him, but I knew it was well worth it for my students and my clients. So I was going to pay him a big fat check to help me out. But at the last minute, he said, "Why don't I consult with you on your questions and your goals in the morning, and then you consult with me in the afternoon?" I was totally on board with this and ready to absorb newfound knowledge and wisdom from Joe. I remember the meeting like it was yesterday. Joe Stump, my good buddy, Joe Polish, who had made the introduction, and a few team members and I were sitting at an outside table at my old house in Scottsdale, Arizona. I loved this outdoor space. It had big hand-carved wood chairs that were so high that the backs of them were 2 feet over my head. They had soft yellow cushions, and they surrounded a beautiful, large, and long Tuscan table. It was a 75-degree Phoenix afternoon, and the perfect sort of day for an outdoor meeting. These may seem like mundane details, but there's a reason they remain so vivid in my memory. My life would never be the same after this meeting. As we sat around the table, I remember Joe Stump said to me, "Why do you want me to be here, Dean? What's the main reason?" I responded by saying, "Because I know I provide proven strategies for success and wealth to people, but I can't always get them to take action. I not only want them to get my books and trainings, but I want them to use the information, get engaged, and then stick to it, so more of them can see the results of their actions. I've even been doing a weekly wisdom. Check it out at www.weeklywisdom.com. For my students for many years now, to help them get on their journey to success. I do all that I can to get them engaged, but so many of my students are sucked back into their old routines. They seem to hope something changes, rather than making something change. I just need them to stay in the game long enough to make these little shifts and stay passionate about their goals. And once they get a glimpse, I know there will be no turning back for them." He looked at me and said, "Wow, Dean, that was powerful. Have you ever done the 7 levels deep?" I remember saying, "I don't know what that is." He said, "It's the most profound thing that you've ever done, and it can massively transform the life of the people you teach and make them stay engaged and motivated longer than ever before. It will actually keep them engaged for life." I was like, "Okay, amazing. Give it to me. Let me have it." Then Joe said, "Sorry, Dean, but no. I want to put you through the full experience first." I said, Joe, come on, man. I want to get there quick. I'm a fast learner. I want this 7 levels deep thing, and I want to give it to my students and my readers ASAP." Then, even more committed, he said, "Nope, the only way you're going to get it is if you go through it." I finally gave in and said, "Fine." Now, as you listen to the next few paragraphs, I want you to picture yourself doing this exercise with someone else. Whether with a spouse, a colleague, or a friend, imagine doing this exercise together. As you'll see, when Joe asked a question, the answer I gave him would be the basis for the next question, and we would repeat this 7 more times. For example, if he asked, "Why do you want me here?" and I answered by saying, "I want to learn how to help my students," he would then ask, "Why do you want to help your students?" This exercise is called 7 levels deep because you move progressively deeper into questions by asking why questions 7 times. Each question is based on the previous answer. I'm not sure why 7 is the magical number that gets you where you need to go, but it is always the right number. Joe sat down in front of me with a piece of paper. He was right in my face. He said, "I asked you why you wanted me here earlier, and you basically said because you want to get your clients, your readers, and your customers more engaged so you can help change their lives for the better, even more than you have." I think that's a great answer, Dean. Very noble. Now, let me ask you this. Why is it important to you to get more of your students engaged, to understand more, to overcome obstacles, to take action, and to see that next level of life. I remember thinking about it for a second and answering, because so many people get stuck in the routine of mediocrity, and I know that I'm giving them good strategies, but not all are using them. I don't want to be the sales or infomercial guy who just sold them a book. I want to be the person who opened their eyes to a new way of life by using what I've discovered. And at the end of the day, I want to create a legacy that my family can be proud of. Joe responded, "That's great stuff. Now, I first asked you why you hired me. Then you said it was to help your students get more engaged. Then when I asked why that was important, you basically said you want to leave a legacy for your family. Both are great reasons and great answers. So Dean, why is it important for you to create a legacy?" I remember thinking for a second and saying, because in this business, a lot of people write crap and teach crap, and I want to set a new standard. I want to set a standard so high that others in the industry will either step up or step out. And don't get me wrong, I love the great people in this industry. Some of my dearest friends and teachers like Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, Brendan Burchard, David Bach, and many others have had a huge impact on my life and millions of others through this type of industry. I wouldn't be the man I am without those and other incredible influences. But we all know there's also a ton of crap out there. And I want those people to either raise their standards or get out. As I was sharing this, I wasn't even sure where my answers were coming from, but I was digging deeper and deeper into my why. Then he said to me, "Dean, that's wonderful. I asked you why you hired me, and you said to get deeper and to help your students more. I asked you why that was important, and you said you want to create a legacy that you and your family can be proud of. Then I asked you why this was important, and you said you want to have the standards raised in this industry. All those are great answers." What I didn't realize at that time was that while yes, these were all good and true answers, they came from my head. And as he asked me the same question a couple more times, I continued to give him answers from my head. They were all well thought out, but I wasn't even close to the real why. When there were 3 levels left to go, he said, "Why is that important?" to my previous and now forgotten answer. What came out of my mouth next shocked even me. I said, "I never want to go backwards." And for some reason, I got emotional. With hindsight, I realized that the most important thing that happens when you ask yourself why 7 times is that you switch from answers coming from your head to pulling the answers from your heart and soul. My heart was speaking, and I could feel it. I remember I started sitting differently, speaking with a different tone, because physically my body started to feel different. I was working hard to stop the tears from streaming out of my eyes because my staff was watching. Then Joe, who I had just met for the first time, was staring directly into my eyes, only a foot away. He asked, "Why is it important that you don't want to go backwards?" And here's what I meant, and here's what my heart was trying to express. I know what it's like to be broke and grow up with no money. I know what it's like to wear hand-me-downs. I know what it's like not having food in the refrigerator. I know what it's like to be basically homeless as a kid because I experienced it with my dad. I remember when I was 11 years old, I moved in with my dad and we literally lived and slept in a small bathroom inside a house my dad was trying to fix up because there was no heat anywhere and the bathroom was the smallest room to keep warm. That's where we slept. And growing up in upstate New York, we had some brutal winters. We had an electric heater and took the doorknob out of the bathroom door and put the cord through the hole. We plugged in the electric heater and dragged in a small mattress and slept on that together. I'd get a ride to school in a car that had no heat and with doors tied on by rope. I remember making my dad drop me off down the street so no one would see just how poor I was. I was in a steady state of feeling insecure and feeling inadequate, and that was a place to which I never wanted to return. This is my story. And I'm not suggesting that you or others haven't had it worse. But I remember my mom struggling before I helped her retire. I remember my dad always struggling before I helped him retire. I remember what it felt like not to be able to help other people or even myself. I know for a fact that I don't ever want to go backwards to where I was as a kid. After I explained all of this, Joe could see that I was getting emotional. And at the time, I was thinking to myself, well, I found my why. But there were two more questions left for me to answer. Joe looked at me and asked, Dean, why don't you want to go backwards? At that point, I couldn't hold the tears back. They were streaming down my face. The first things that came to my heart were my children. I said, I think I know it. I think I know my why. I want to give my kids the choices and the options that I never had when I was a kid. I want my daughter and my son to be able to choose where they want to go in life and have the ability to become their best selves. I want them to have lives without worry of money choking them. I want them to know that they're financially secure. So if they want to be teachers or astronauts or be in rock bands or yoga teachers or anything else, they can. I want them to have the freedom I never felt like I had growing up. I'm not saying I want to raise two entitled brats. I work very hard to make sure that never happens. I'm talking about choices to be who they want to be, not spoiling them so they don't have to make any choices at all. And the more I thought about it, the more emotional I got. I said to Joe, I know my why. It's my children. But then he said to me, I bet you started working really hard before you had children, didn't you, Dean? And he was right. And I had one more why left to answer. Dean, he said, thank you for sharing this. But I have to ask you, why is it important that your children have choices? And my true why emerged like a miracle. It just flew out of my mouth. I said, because I want to be in control. Before that moment, I'd never thought or talked about wanting to be in control. And I never felt that surge of passion run through me to my core. I realized at that very moment what my whole life was about. I finally realized why I wanted to go to the next level, why I got into business, why I started cutting firewood and fixing wrecked cars when I was a teenager, why I knocked on 1 million doors and did my first real estate deal before I was 20. It all made sense now. It was all because I wanted to be in control. Not a control freak, but rather in control. You see, my parents were married 9 times between them. In fact, as I write this book, my dad is engaged to a great lady, and it will soon be an even 10. Also growing up, I moved a lot. I moved 20 times by the time I was 19 years old. Over the years of my childhood, I would have new stepbrothers, stepsisters, and step-grandparents that I loved. And then I'd be uprooted and have to move without any say in the matter. I always felt totally out of control. We would find an apartment I loved, couldn't pay the rent, and would get evicted. I'd move into my grandma's house and love it. And then within a year, I would have to move and go someplace else with a new dad or a new mom and with new siblings that in some cases hated me for intruding. I would go to a new school, find new friends, and then we'd pick up and have to relocate again. It was an epiphany, the 7th why. I don't want anybody to tell me how to dress, where to live, or even how to raise my kids. I don't want anybody to tell me where I can eat, how I can function, what I can do with my time, or how much money I can make. I want to be in control so I can make the decisions that empower me, bring me joy.
Anyway, I could keep playing that. I don't know if it came through, but I mean, it grabbed me. When he said, I don't want to go backwards. So anyway, so just to compose myself here for a moment, I don't know, it really, really grabbed me because I've never really fully, I mean, I think we move through life and we do things, right? And like he talked about, you know, he thought it was his kids, but he was doing the work before he had kids when he was further discussed. And that whole idea of being in control of, you know, of your outcome in your life. And anyway, I thought it was really, really powerful. And yeah, I'm going to put some work into it to really figure it out, right? Of what really drives us to do the things that we do and what we really want. And I think if we can really articulate it and put our finger on it, we will do the things that we really want. Because I think, as he described, and we talked about at the beginning of us, most of us have logical whys. right? Whys that sound great and sound noble and sound, wow, that's really big of you. And that's an exciting why, but is it really your why? The real inner heart of you, of why you're moving forward and why you really want a different life. And for me, I mean, that brought me back to my childhood. It brought me back, maybe it touched some of you that way too. And you just want a different life, a better life. But anyway, so let's go ahead and open it up a little bit for some discussion. Who wants to jump in here? Unmute yourself.
Hey, John, this is Siv here.
Hey, Siv.
Hey, sorry, I got distracted earlier and I just came in a little late, but I just want to say I appreciate you, John, for reminding me to go deeper. Because there are some days where, just like today, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Gosh, this is turning into a pretty crazy fireside chat, but because I'm just still emotional over it. And I know you said you came in late, and we were discussing Dean Graziosi, his book, Millionaire Success Habits, and he talked about something. I mean, here's a guy that's already massively successful, and he met this guy that brought him through this exercise of asking himself, and this is an exercise most ideally done with a partner, someone that you can maybe where you're asking, I want more money. Well, why do you want more money? Or what is that money going to get you? Just digging down, and he says it's really quite magical that when you reach that seventh level, it magically appears. And for him, it really, where it blew him away initially was when he said, I don't want to go backwards, right? And he brought himself through his childhood not wanting to live that way. And then thinking it was really for, to provide his kids a better life. But then, under questioning further, he's like, no, I was doing this before I had kids, right? So there was even a deeper meaning and ultimately control. And I know, the word control can be a negative word, when you think I want to control. I mean, because nobody likes a control freak, right? But that's not what he was referring to. He wanted control over his life instead of someone else controlling his life, right? And so it's I think there's a difference there. I think there's a real difference there in being a control freak versus not wanting someone else to control you and your outcome. So anyway, let's anybody else want to jump in here? I think it's really powerful. And again, the book is by Dean Graziosi. It is The Millionaire Success Habits. This is chapter 2. And yeah, okay.
Hey, John.
Yes. Go ahead.
Lisa Hughes. It's Lisa Hughes. How are you today?
I'm good.
I got some tears going with that one too. And I mean, that was remarkable to me and very deep. And I think Bill Ball and I did a little bit of that in our old training center. And I definitely want to go back to that because I see the steps and I see how powerful you just explained it. And he just explained it. And I'm like you, I want to work on it deeper. And I just thank you so much for that. And I get the whole going backwards. And I also get that I made a lot of money before I had children. So I really, it resonated with me. And I wanted to thank you as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
John, I just wanted to say that thank you also, because I think sometimes as we're trying to do this business, we get stalled or things slow us down, and we know we want to persist and keep moving forward, but something just continues to stop us. And I think there's something in the essence of what you said is that we really haven't gotten down to our true why. That if we just dig deeper, I think we maybe go down a few levels thinking, well, it's typically, I want to help other people or whatever. It's just more at the surface. But if we really spend the time to get down to the deepest level, it's going to be the driver that drives us and it doesn't stop us. It's going to be the momentum that keeps us really moving forward without thinking about it. So that's what you're saying today has meant to me, that, that's an exercise I want to do. I've done this before, but I don't think I got down deep enough. I don't think I think this is something that really is harder than it seems on the surface. And I'm not even sure how to get down to that deepest level. I'm not even sure, but I think if we go through this exercise multiple times and really try to put our heart into it, we will get there. But it's not an easy thing. It's just not easy, but we need to do it. And so it would be so beneficial. So thank you for bringing this topic forward today.
Yes, thank you. And I think that, it is not easy, and it is probably a work in progress. We may think we get there and we're still not there, right? I think most people have never gone through anything like this, and their whys are just from their head, and they make sense, and they sound really good, but they're not deep enough to really drive them, at all cost, right? To drive them at all costs, to get down into that. And I mean, there are people that do it that's not gone through this exercise, and they maybe can't articulate the reason why, but somehow they probably unknowingly tapped into it, right? Of this, this inner why, that feeling, as he said, I'm not going to go backwards, and then ultimately digging down to, wanting to be in control of his life instead of being shuffled all over the world and having, all over the country with moving 20 times and, who's our family this week, right?
Yeah.
Who are these people now that I'm, siblings with or whatever. So, I mean, I think it's a work in progress, and it is not something we're probably just going to sit down and go through this exercise and be, aha, I got it. It is going to be, a work in progress. But I think if we really want it, if we really want to try to dig down, because I think most of us wander around in life kind of like, what do I really want? Who do I want to be when I grow up? Right? I mean, we move forward, and sometimes we move backwards, but we're trying to move forwards. But when you're truly driven with something bigger than what your head can come up with, something deeper than what your head can come up with, and really dig down to that core, imagine how that might feel, and the mission, and what you'd be willing to do to fulfill that. But I think the key to any of this, once you get there, is keeping that feeling, keeping that top of mind by writing it down and doing the daily cultivation and reminding yourself, because I mean, life is crazy, life is busy, people are crazy, people, and there's so many things. I mean, I listened to this back in December when I first heard it, and I was like, wow, that's powerful. And here it is, May, end of May, June, and I've done nothing with it, right? And so where I think that's the other thing. I mean, we can beat ourselves up and try to be honest with ourselves that we're not doing what we need to do, but we don't want to paralyze ourselves. And I think if we generally just feel we want to really move forward and work on it, and just know that there are going to be setbacks, and there are going to be disappointments, and there are going to be, some triumphs, and not to get lazy when that happens, but because I just listen to it and I just think how powerful it must be to really completely and totally get it, what you really want and why you want it, and that's going to drive you. Anyone else here want to comment?
Just a quick add to that. There is some information at 7levelsdeep.com. If anybody wants to dig a little deeper into this, you can find information there. And then Dean does on YouTube. He has information here that you can hear him again. So maybe that'll be helpful for those of you that want more information.
Yeah, and just so you know, too, the book too. I mean, everything that I've listened to, I haven't listened to the whole book yet, but I've probably listened to about 70% of it. And I mean, there's hardly a wasted word. I mean, it's really, really powerful. Powerfully. I mean, he does I really identify with him. I mean, he's also a person that has dyslexia. He's accomplished amazing things in his life, and he's helped a lot of people. But and I think his career really kind of took off even more so once he had gone through this exercise, because it obviously must have happened prior to the book because it's in the book, right? So
Yeah.
John, I just want to thank you for, every time I go to these fireside meetings, I remember back the first time that Greg and I heard you in Palm Springs, and why, we fell in love with you is for you to allow yourself to be vulnerable like this, because it's moments like this, like I've been bawling the whole time, because I think we don't give ourselves permission to do what he got down to that level of, is saying, I want to be in control. And I remember when I came into Valentis, I've always said that Greg is my why. And it's hard to articulate it because it sounds so selfish, to not want, but I'm so tired of ministry and different things driving us. I want to do it because it's out of our heart. I don't want to do it because we've never been in it for the money. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, to get down to that level and be honest, like what he said, to be honest enough to say, I want to be in control of where we're going so that I have that choice to do what I want to do. And anyway, I don't want to take any more time. I just want to thank you, John, for being such a great leader for all of us and allowing yourself to cry in front of us. I just love you more every time that you allow yourself to show your vulnerability, because it gives all the rest of us permission to do the same thing. So thank you.
you're welcome. And thank you for those kind words. I think one of the words that you said there is to be, you talked about just really wanting to be honest with yourself. And I think that's, because we tend to get caught up in a routine, in activities, or what we think is bringing us down the path that makes sense. But is it really the right path? Is it really what we want that's going to bring us the joy and the happiness and the fulfillment, that few people probably ever get, right? But if you can really tap into it, I think it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So anyone else here before we close out that want to jump in here and talk a little bit about if they, if something touched them here, and I know, hey, we're gonna, we'll end this Zoom and we're gonna all go back to our lives, our busy schedules and what we've got going on. And hopefully it sticks in the back of our mind a little bit, and we start trying to, dig down and really find it. Because I think it could be, I know it would be incredibly powerful, because it did. I felt it. I mean, when he said that, I don't want to go backwards. I mean, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. So.
Hi, John. I'm covering my eyes because it leaves me teary-eyed listening from that too. And I might have some background noise. I'm still at the gym's recreation park, so there's kids swimming. Anyway, I just want to say something about when we think of our why. Looking at the people that's on our Zoom right now, I can say it's fair to say that it's not too young, or it's not too late, or it's not too early to start digging deeper about our why. At the same time, our whys, I feel like it has to evolve over time. At some point in July, I'll be celebrating my 6 years in our company. And personally, I feel like I achieved something that I am comfortable, and I know being comfortable is not a good thing. I tend to settle. So it's important when you reach something that, we all have different ways of measuring our success, but at the same time, it's important to continually evolve. Like digging deeper, a lot of us, we measure success through ranks and income, but at the same time, it's really important to, as you said, as Grisholi, I'm sorry, I had a hard time pronouncing his last name. It's important to be going deeper about our why. It's not just the finances, it's not just about the ranking, but being true to ourselves, and having having a legacy. I grew up thinking that for me, I just have to work, working 8 to 5 and then retire by 65. And then that mindset changed drastically, if not dramatically, the last 5, 6 years. So, all I can say is, it doesn't hurt to evolve our whys through the years. It's human nature. It's like in the beginning, our whys, our motivating factor is money, success, and fame, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as we matured, as we grow deeper and wiser, our whys changes as well. So I hope everyone, I wish everyone, you know, uh, safe and relaxing memorial celebration. Back to you, John.
Yeah, thank you. And obviously you've, coming out of the Philippines and I mean, that's a different life than people here in the United States experience, right? And so, I think a why can continue to grow and evolve, but you mentioned the word comfortable, and another word that would maybe be is content. I'm content, I'm comfortable, and that's kind of just going through the motions, right? I mean, comfortable and content. I think it's fine to stop there, or let's not say stop, to pause there and enjoy the moment, enjoy that maybe a breather, a little celebration of reaching to a point that you never thought you may get to. But when you really think of the hunt, there's always that saying, the road is better than the inn, right? It's the pursuit of something is where our juices really flow, where we get passionate and excited about something. And I think there is probably a lot of people that are paused in life. They're due to being maybe to a place where they never thought they would be, and they're comfortable and they're content. And it sounds okay, but to be driven and passionate and to have those, because I think about it in times in my life where I literally can't even sleep at night because my head's going a million miles an hour thinking about the possibilities, right? And we get to certain levels and plateaus and for some of you, that might be where you are, and that's great. Others might be, I want to break through to go to that next level. And there's nothing wrong with the being comfortable and content. I mean, most people aren't comfortable and content, right? But I think the excitement of moving forward, if you can tap into that, because I think to really move forward, you have to tap into something that excites you, right? Another level, but again, that comes back to digging down into that inner motivation that will push you beyond the logic of why you want to do it, beyond your head, really into your heart. So anyway, we'll say goodbye. If anybody has any last minute comments before we close out, otherwise I'll say goodbye. Enjoyed this very much, and hope some of you walk away with, feeling a little self-evaluation of what I want to, we're really wanting to dig down and find that. I do. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I know that. I mean, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow, ready to, conquer the world because I figured it out. But it's triggered an emotion in me that wants to move in that direction to figure it out. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. So with that, everybody have a fantastic rest of your Memorial Day weekend and celebration, and hope you have some family around and enjoy. It's going to be a cool weekend here in Minnesota. I'm back at my lake home here, but I got, fires looks like it's almost going out. So time to throw some wood on. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, John. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you.